is one of the most important segment of your entire syllabus of environment and ecology. And why I am saying so, because UPSC very frequently try to raise questions in your prelims as well as mains from the very topic of biodiversity. As far as the nature of this topic is concerned, I can say that this entire segment of biodiversity is blend of theoretical knowledge, and dynamic information. Dynamic information means I am talking about various initiatives and programs which were initiated way back before 20-30 years, but they have relevance even we need to talk about them, and at the same time we should be aware about contemporary developments related to biodiversity, right? And I should not hesitate to share this information that if I have to give preference, without any doubt I can say that dynamic portion of this topic is very, very important and dominant compared to the theoretical portion of this segment. And one more thing, that theoretical aspect of this segment is not very vast, unlike the first segment, which was purely a theoretical segment. For 3 consecutive lectures, we continuously, I can say, talked about various theories and concepts related to ecology in our first segment. But as far as this segment of biodiversity is concerned, I can say that in 2 to 3 hours discussion we will wrap up our theoretical portion, and rest time of this particular segment shall be dedicated upon dynamic information like problems and initiatives, right? So you need to develop this maturity that only reading of book, any book, will not be much helpful for you as far as this segment is concerned. You need to supplement that particular, you need to take assistance from various dynamic informations, and that's why your dynamic approach of analysis is very, very essential for this segment. But as a faculty, my role would be to make you all familiar about those theoretical aspects of this segment, and also to talk about all those important developments which has been noticed so far related to this subject matter of biodiversity. So how we can start the very discussion of this segment? If I try to present the very list of all those theoretical aspects which we are going to discuss, as usual we can initiate our discussion with introduction, prelude, right? And then we will talk about distribution of biodiversity across Earth. Then what are factors which affect the level of biodiversity at any given location? We will talk about it. Then our next agenda would be of types of biodiversity, then measurement of biodiversity, We will also try to take a glimpse regarding the very condition of biodiversity of India. services of biodiversity, services of biodiversity, and then problem followed by measures. As far as this portion of measures mean is concerned, under this segment, under this portion only, we will talk about those initiatives, right? So this is the entire, I can say, skeleton of this particular segment. If we have to define the notion of biodiversity, you can easily split this term as biological diversity. The term biodiversity is actually the mixture of these two terms, biological diversity. It means it can be defined as the scenario of diversity in biological life forms, right? Diversity means what? Varieties. Variety in biological life forms. As far as this very term variety in life forms is concerned, we can interpret this term in form of variety in number of organisms, variety in number of species, variety in community structure, or variety in ecosystem also. We can approach this term variety in multiple dimensions, right? Let's say ki here we are around 20 persons. So this number 20 is the number of different organisms, is one type of variety, right? But let's say ki if apart from us, one dog and one cat is also in this particular classroom, so this term variety can also be discussed in different manner, that one species of human, one species of dog and one species of cat is actually there within this classroom or at this location. We can follow this type of analysis also. So what I want to say is this term variety is not having its own fixed approach. It is up to analyzer or it is up to observer of biodiversity ki in which manner that observer want to approach this notion of variety, right? And if we try to have a look upon the overall variety in life form of Earth, I can say that this subject is still today one of the dominant and one of the, I can say, complex subject of research for humanity. Enormous scope of new findings, new investigation is actually present under the very subject of biodiversity even today. How I can justify myself? In order to justify myself, I'm providing you all some empirical data. As far as the actual reality of entire biodiversity of Earth is concerned, it is an estimate of various experts and researchers that whatever is the current scenario of biodiversity of Earth, this current biodiversity of Earth is just 2% of original biodiversity of Earth which used to be, right? Just 2%, and it is not my opinion, it is the established data. And if we talk about this 2% proportion of Earth's original biodiversity, which is current reality. Current reality means what? The present scenario of biodiversity of Earth is only 2% of its actual biodiversity. Now, if we try to look at this 2% proportion of Earth's original biodiversity, it is an estimate of researchers that this 2% proportion would be around 10 to 11 million different number of species. if you try to quantify this data of 2% in terms of number of species. So it is just an estimate of researchers that current scenario of entire biodiversity of Earth would be around 10 to 11 million types of species. I am not talking about number of organisms. I am talking about types of species which have their presence on Earth. It is an estimate of researcher. But this entire 10 to 11 million biodiversity of Earth is not known biodiversity. Out of this 10 to 11 million different types of estimated species, only 1.5 to 1.8 million species are known so far. Known species means they have been discovered, they have got their scientific name, right? This data is only 1.5 to 1.8 million. So out of 10 million biodiversity, 10 million types of species which may have their presence over Earth, humanity have information only about 1.5 to 1.8 million types of species. This data is indication of the fact that the subject of biodiversity consists the enormous scope of research even today. That's why we usually read about discovery of new species at a very frequent basis in our lifestyle. If reading of newspaper is your habit, so in every month you will find at least one news about discovery of a new species at different corners of Earth, or I can say in different corners of world. Why this much frequency in discovery or investigation? Why this much frequency? We cannot find this level of frequency in new findings about other subjects such as physics, chemistry. These all are subjects of research. But the very frequency of new discovery which we actually notice related to the subject of biodiversity is not the case for many other subjects. And why this peculiar thing for biodiversity? This data which I recently provided you all is justification that this subject has enormous scope of new investigation and new discoveries, right? So we have to our task in this segment is to explore various dimensions of discussion related to biodiversity, and those dimensions can be considered as theoretical portion of this particular chapter or segment, right? So I should start with proper introduction. Please write a brief introduction about this biodiversity dimension. According to United Nations, comma, biodiversity refers to just a minute. Water. Biodiversity refers to variety in life forms, full stop. As far as the notion of variety is concerned, comma, it can be interpreted as variety in number of organisms, variety in number of organisms, variety in number of species, variety in number of species, comma, variety in community or number of community of biotic components and so on, of biotic components and so on, full stop. If we try to explore various dimensions, if we try to explore various dimensions of biodiversity of Earth, if we try to explore various dimensions of biodiversity of Earth, comma, it is a very complex subject of research and observation, full stop. This complexity is evident of the fact that present biodiversity of Earth is only 2% of. Present biodiversity of Earth is only 2% of its original level of biodiversity. Only 2% of its original level of biodiversity, and it is an estimate, of researchers that presently 10 to 11 million types of species are present on Earth, but only 1.5 to 1.8 million species has been scientifically discovered so far, full stop. Therefore our discussion related to therefore our discussion related to the subject of biodiversity therefore our discussion related to the subject of biodiversity shall be only for this known biodiversity of earth only for this known biodiversity of earth. From next line, we can approach this subject of biodiversity in following three different manners dash. First, genetic biodiversity. It means, you should explain this term, it means variety in number of organisms full stop. Every organism is different from other on the basis of its genetic structure. Full stop. Genetic development of an organism, full stop and continue. Genetic development of an organism makes it adaptable for climatic and physiographic factor, adaptable for climatic and physiographic factor where that organism survives. Where that organism survives. Second one is species diversity. It means diversity in species structure of a given ecosystem or any location full stop. The term biodiversity should be written in quote unquote. The term biodiversity is generally discussed is generally discussed in form of species diversity, generally discussed in form of species diversity, right? Whatever data you will read about biodiversity, you should consider that data is about species diversity, right? Let's say कि we written कि 2% of Earth original biodiversity. So this data is of what? Types of species, right? And third one is community biodiversity. Community diversity. It means variety in community structure. It means variety in community structure. It means variety in community structure of an ecosystem. It is also known as ecosystem diversity. It is also known as ecosystem diversity. It is also known as ecosystem diversity. Full stop. So what you written actually, the very message of this entire content is that कि as far as the subject of biodiversity is concerned, we can make discussion about this subject in either of these three different formats. Again, it depends upon that observer कि in which manner, in which context that observer want to conduct his or her own study about biodiversity, right? Either at genetic level or at species level or at community level. And I hope that you all are familiar with this name community, species and genetic structure, right? What is community? What is community? Yes. Group of people. Is he correct? From tomorrow onwards, I will keep 2 chocolates with me and provide if you answered very correctly to my questions, huh? Because current generation needs some reward for their any effort, huh? They looks for any reward. जब तक reward नहीं दिखता है तब तक answer दे भी नहीं देंगे, huh? Community means what? Group of 2 or more than 2 species, right? 2 or more than 2 species. And a species is group of individuals having identical physical morphology and they should be capable for interbreeding, right? Okay. Here we tried to develop the very basic understanding regarding the conception of biodiversity. Now we should talk about the practical format of Earth known biodiversity. Whatever is the known biodiversity of Earth, if we try to talk about its distribution across Earth, so we would arrive at conclusion that entire known, whatever discussion which I shall made about biodiversity, that discussion will be about known biodiversity of Earth, right? So if we try to trace out the manner of distribution of Earth biodiversity, so we would found various data which says that biodiversity of Earth or known biodiversity of Earth is unevenly distributed across Earth. Unevenly distributed. Now, how we can simplify this term uneven distribution of Earth, or how we can justify this information? So, in order to justify it, first of all, we need to simplify this information. Okay, what uneven distribution means actually. Consider this circle as entire Earth, and I am dividing this Earth in different climatic zones. Probably you may be familiar about these names. Let's say ki this is equator, 10 degree north, 10 degrees south, 22.5 degree north, and 22.5 degrees south, right? And beyond this limit, there are another regions, right? This entire space, or this entire, you can say, packet from 22.5 degree north to 22.5 degrees south. This is the location of Tropic of Cancer, and it is Tropic of Capricorn. So this entire region between Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn is actually known as which region? Tropical region. Huh? And 10 degree north to 10 degrees south. This one, I should write this name in different color. This region, 10 degree north to 10 degree south. This is known as equatorial region. Equatorial region. According to various factual data, this tropical region has, this entire tropical region has 18% share in total. If you want, you can plot this diagram and write these informations. This tropical region has 18% share in total land area of Earth. Total land area of Earth. Just 18% share, right? Tropical region. But if you try to look at the level of biodiversity which is concentrated within this tropical region, data says that this tropical region actually holds 2/3 share. Now you should not write it down, just listen me first. 2/3 share of total known biodiversity of Earth. 2/3 means 66%. It means that 66% biodiversity of Earth is concentrated within 18% proportion of entire Earth's surface. Now this data is most important proof of this term uneven distribution, right? And we will take up so many similar type of data and informations which will justify this information ki yes, Earth biodiversity is actually unevenly distributed, and it is a very popular dimension of discussion related to the subject of biodiversity. So you can put heading distribution of known biodiversity of Earth. Distribution of known biodiversity of Earth. Distribution of known biodiversity of Earth. It should be your heading, and please start writing biodiversity of Earth is unevenly distributed, full stop. This information can be validated. This information can be validated with the help of following points dash and first one. Tropical region, comma, which has just 18% share in total land surface area of Earth, comma, consist around 66% of entire biodiversity of Earth, full stop. Within, full stop and continue, within tropical region, comma, majority proportion is concentrated within equatorial region, full stop. Equatorial region means 10 degree north to 10 degree south. This is the first information. Similarly, you should write down second point, which again validate this information. There are 17 mega diverse countries. 17 mega diverse countries. 17 mega diverse countries in world who has collectively 10% share in total area of Earth, total land area of Earth, but around 60%, 60% of Earth biodiversity, 60% Earth biodiversity is concentrated within these 17 mega diverse countries. These 17 mega diverse countries. You can imagine the relevance of these 17, just 17 countries of world. They actually support 60% biodiversity of Earth. How much significant these countries are in terms of biodiversity, level of biodiversity. And you all must know that India is also one mega diverse country. I should share the name of those mega diverse countries which are of Asia continent. At least you should be aware about these Asia based mega diverse countries. Write down mega diverse countries of Asia. Actually, these are five mega diverse countries are in Asia, and I'm sharing their name. First, China, India, China, India, then Indonesia, Malaysia, and Philippines. Indonesia, Malaysia, and Philippines, right? Now again, third point is of one specific, I can say specific type of location, and these locations are very, very important in terms of biodiversity, and these locations are known as biodiversity hotspot, right? Look, very often we are not in condition to make difference between these two concepts. One is mega diverse country, another one is biodiversity hotspot. Biodiversity hotspot is a term which we actually uses for a particular location. It means that one mega diverse country may consist so many biodiversity hotspots, right? And these biodiversity hotspots are again a very important locations in terms of biodiversity. The very relevance of such locations can be again validated by taking two dimensions. First, these hotspots actually support a very healthy level of biodiversity. This is the criteria to declare a location as a hotspot. Very healthy level of biodiversity should be there, and not only this, the level of biodiversity of that given hotspot should be under threat. It should be under threat. Now you can further, I can say, appreciate this, both these informations, by referring the very data. You should not write it down, I will dictate it. Just listen me first. The first parameter to declare a particular location as a biodiversity hotspot is that at least 1500 species of plants, vascular plants, must be endemic for that location. Endemic means what? Those species had their evolution at that location only. These species of plants should not be like invasive species. No. Endemic means those species which actually evolved there, and they have their presence in that location. This is the criteria of endemic species. So at least 1500 species of plants must be there, and those species should be like endemic species for that location. And second criteria of hotspot is what? Again, listen me very, very carefully. 70, at least 70% proportion of original biodiversity of vegetation should have been lost. इमेजिन करो जरा ये कितनी बड़ी इंटेंसिटी है कि ओरिजिनल बायोडाइवर्सिटी का 70% प्रोपोर्शन लॉस्ट हो चुका है, फिर भी अभी वहां पे 1500 स्पीशीज प्लांट्स की ऐसी हैं जो वहां की इंडेमिक हैं। इसका मतलब आप समझ सकते हो कि ओरिजिनली आइडियल सिनेरियो में वो कितनी हेल्दी बायोडाइवर्सिटी का लोकेशन होगा, जिसको हम क्या नाम दे रहे हैं, बायोडाइवर्सिटी हॉटस्पॉट। सो in entire world 35 biodiversity hotspots has been recognized so far, right? One international agency known as Conservation International works on this particular process to declare a location as a hotspot and then take an initiative for its conservation, right? So by taking the reference of these biodiversity hotspots, again we can validate that information कि biodiversity of earth is not evenly distributed, rather it is unevenly distributed, because the very share of these 35 hotspots is just 2.4% in total land surface of earth, just 2.4%, but their share in total biodiversity of earth is more than 40%. मतलब पूरी धरती का 2.4% हिस्सा पूरी धरती के बायोडाइवर्सिटी के 40% से ज्यादा शेयर को होल्ड किए हुए। अगेन ये कॉन्सेप्ट क्या बताता है कि बायोडाइवर्सिटी ऑफ अर्थ इज नॉट evenly, rather it is unevenly distributed. So we should write down about biodiversity hotspot. We should put heading biodiversity hotspot and write down these are these are biogeographic regions which support very healthy level of biodiversity, but biodiversity of these locations is under threat, full stop. The concept of biodiversity hotspot was introduced by Norman Mayer and Conservation International Agency work for identification and protection of these hotspots following from a full stop and continue. Following two criterias for declaring a location as hotspot. First, at least 1500 species of vascular plant, VUSCULAR. Vascular plant means what? Plants which consist xylem and phloem, right? And naturally all conventional plants are vascular plants. Some aquatic plants does not classify this criteria, such as, if you can recall, we were talking about lichen. They does not follow the criteria of vascular plants. But if you talk about terrestrial plants, right, land-based, they all can be considered as vascular plants, right? So what we written? 1500 species. Vascular plants must be endemic. ENDEMIC. Endemic for that location. And endemic means what? In bracket you should write down. Naturally found only in that location. Only in that location. Nowhere else. Nowhere else. Bracket close. Right? And second criteria, that location ऐसे लिखो 70% share of primary vegetation. 70% share of primary vegetation of that location. 70% 70% proportion of 70% share of primary vegetation of that location should have been lost. It means कि if someone will ask you that what is the parameter of biodiversity hotspot, so what you should learn? First parameter is high level of endemism. And second, threat. High level of threat over biodiversity. Okay, now you should write down a few factual information here. Total 36 biodiversity hotspots has been declared by Conservation International Agency. Conservation International and out of these 36, 4 hotspots are in India, and you should write down these 4 hot spots of India. What are these 4? Eastern Himalaya. First one is Eastern Himalaya. Second one, Western Ghat. Western Ghat. Third, Indo-Burma region. Indo-Burma region. And fourth one is Sundaland. Sundaland means region of Andaman Nicobar. Sunda, Sundaland. If you want, you can write in bracket Andaman Nicobar. Sundaland. Look, sometimes experts use the very opposite concept of hotspot in their own academic discussion related to biodiversity, and that term is cold spot, right? So cold is, if you found the mentioning of this term cold spot for a particular location, you can easily derive this conclusion that that location would represent a very plain or weak level of biodiversity, right? But another dimension which is very important for you related to this biodiversity hotspot, these hot spots are actually terrestrial locations, right? So you can consider it as this dimension as one demerit of this entire effort. Under the conception of hotspot, agency only considered terrestrial locations for declaration, right? So in parallel to that hotspot locations, Conservation International Agency started another you can say initiative for protecting the biodiversity of aquatic or marine locations, and those locations are being declared or are usually known as hope spot. HOPE, hope spot. So what is the difference between hot spot and hope spot? Both are the location of high level of biodiversity. Both are the location where biodiversity is under threat. But hot spots are terrestrial area, hope spots are marine or aquatic. In the name of aquatic area, generally their focus is over marine ecosystem, right? So if you want, you can write this extra piece of information. It is just a related information. You can write with proper heading of note related to the conception of hot spot. Related to the conception of hot spot, comma, Conservation International also work for conservation of biodiversity hope spot, full stop. They are primarily a marine ecosystem. They are primarily a marine ecosystem which represent high level of biodiversity. Marine ecosystem which represent high level of biodiversity. And if you talk about India, 2 regions of India has been declared as hope spot. One is Lakshadweep and another one is Andaman Nicobar. Hope spot, 2 hope spots of India, Andaman Nicobar and Lakshadweep. With the help of all these factual informations, you should add two more informations about hot spots. Look, what I'm doing is actually trying to provide those relevant informations, factual informations, which may be asked in your prelims related to hot spots. You need to be familiar with at least two more informations regarding hot spots. First one is, write down, Brazil has highest number of hot spots, and second information, all 36 hot spots cover, COVER, cover only 2.4% land area of Earth, planet. 2.4% land area of Earth, planet. If you want to write name of 36th, means most latest or recently declared hotspot, that is North American plain. The 36th recognized hotspot of world is what? North American plain. North American plain. Look, these are factual information, and I am trying my level best to share those informations which I can recall at this moment. But at the same time, I should share one advice for all of you, and I am urging you all to develop this habit, especially for the subject of environment ecology. Look, we will talk about so many conventions, so many initiatives, so many concepts in our discussion related to this subject. Related to all those dimensions, there is enormous, I can say, scope of memorizing various factual informations. And to be very honest, here I am taking your lecture not for dictating only those factual informations. My actual purpose is for theory and analytical discussion, for which you need a faculty. But it should be your duty also to think about any related factual information of this subject which you are studying, and you have availability of internet. You just need to Google out that particular query of your intellect, and instantly you will find answer. So by sharing these factual informations, I am trying to push you towards that thought process कि आप खुद से भी कुछ ऐसे फैक्चुअल क्वेश्चंस को सोचने की आदत डालो, और उन फैक्चुअल क्वेश्चंस का जवाब पाने के लिए आपको किसी फैकल्टी की जरूरत नहीं है. यू हैव इंटरनेट अवेलेबल विथ यू. अब जैसे मैंने बताया कि ब्राजील हैज हाईएस्ट नंबर, 36 नंबर ऑफ हॉट स्पॉट इज नॉर्थ अमेरिकन प्लेन. तो अब आप चाहो तो उसमें 2-3 लाइन का स्पेस छोड़कर देखो. सेल्फ स्टडी का मतलब केवल वही नहीं होता है कि जो बताया गया उसको जाके याद कर लो, हो गई सेल्फ स्टडी. सेल्फ स्टडी का एक बहुत बड़ा एंगल होता है कि जो कंटेंट फैकल्टी ने आपको दिया है उसमें आप अपनी तरफ से 2% का ही सही कुछ एडिशन कर पा रहे हो या नहीं. सो वो 2% का एडिशन आपको सब्जेक्ट के करीब लाएगा, और कहीं ना कहीं वो आपके एग्जाम में परफॉर्मेंस को भी एनरिच करेगा. एंड आई मस्ट से कि प्लीज डोंट रिलाई योरसेल्फ ओवर फैकल्टी फॉर दैट 2%. That 2% should be your duty. Since you all are mature, and I think that you all are very, very desperate for this examination, so I'm not actually luring you, or I should not lure you by sharing only that information which are the role of faculties. उसके अलावा आपकी क्या ड्यूटी है आपको भी ये समझना होगा, राइट। तो अब जैसे हॉट स्पॉट्स के बारे में मैंने बताया, तो इस हॉट स्पॉट को लेकर आप चाहो तो कुछ और क्वेरीज, फैक्चुअल कॉन्सेप्चुअल क्वेरी की मैं बात नहीं कर रहा हूं, कॉन्सेप्चुअल क्वेरी भी आ जाती है तो वेल एंड गुड, वेल एंड गुड। एंड फॉर I can say taking the very response of that factual query, either you can take the help of internet or faculty, respective faculty. But for factual query, please don't rely yourself over faculties, because आसानी से आपको information internet से मिलता रहेगा. तो फर्स्ट बायोडाइवर्सिटी हॉटस्पॉट ऑफ वर्ल्ड, ये आप खुद से भी सोच सकते हो, आंसर ले सकते हो. अभी मैंने कंजर्वेशन इंटरनेशनल के बारे में बताया. तो अब देखो, मैं आपको बहुत बहुत क्लियरली बता दूं कि इस पूरे सेशन में we will deal so many organization schemes and programs. I will make as much as possible analytical discussion about all those schemes, programs and organizations. But it should be your duty to read some extra pieces of factual information about those scheme, programs and institutions with your own effort. तो अब जैसे कंजर्वेशन इंटरनेशनल मैंने नाम ले लिया, एजेंसी का नाम बता दिया, तो अब स्मार्ट कैंडिडेट की ये आदत होनी चाहिए कि वो थोड़ा बहुत गूगल से या विकिपीडिया से इस एजेंसी के बारे में पढ़ ले, और इसके बेसिक इंफॉर्मेशंस अगर कुछ ऐसे लग रहे हैं कि दे आर लॉजिकल वन, तो आप उसको अपने नोट में ही ऐड कर लो उसी समय. इसको लंबे समय के लिए खींचो मत. अदरवाइज होगा क्या कि 90% एस्पिरेंट्स यही करते हैं, कर लेंगे कभी, तो वो कभी कभी नहीं आता है. वो कभी तभी आएगा जब आपकी एज खत्म हो चुकी होगी, और फिर आप मेरे जैसा फैकल्टी बनकर या एक टाइम के बाद पेरेंट बनकर अपने बच्चों को सिखाएं कि ये गलती मत करना. तो आप उस चीज को ध्यान में रखिएगा, ठीक है. लुक, this exam is, again I am saying, it is an exam of your awareness and smart aptitude. Since last 5 years in consecution, this exam has been topped by a fresher. If you take up the list of top 10 candidates, कम से कम 3-4 तो उसमें ऐसे मिल ही जाएंगे जिनका पहला अटेम्प्ट था. ये पैटर्न पिछले 5-6 सालों से देख लेना उठा के. और टॉप 100 में तो मैं एक दावे के साथ कह सकता हूं कि 20-30 ऐसे कैंडिडेट आपको मिल जाएंगे टॉप 100 में जिनका पहला या मैक्सिमम दूसरा अटेम्प्ट रहा होगा. फर्स्ट अटेम्प्ट वाले भी कर रहे हैं. तो कभी बैठ के सोचना कि हाउ दे एबल टू क्रैक दिस एग्जामिनेशन इन देयर वेरी फर्स्ट अटेम्प्ट. केवल और केवल ये स्ट्रेटजी की बात है. रट्टाफिकेशन और केवल कंटेंट को याद करके इस एग्जाम पे आप नहीं कर सकते कुछ, जब तक कि आप अपनी खुद की कोई स्ट्रेटजी फ्रेम करके उस पे काम ना करो. और ये छोटी छोटी बातें हर सब्जेक्ट में जो फैकल्टी आपको कहता है करने को, शुरुआत में आपको लगता है कि दिस आर नॉट वेरी प्राइमरी टाइप ऑफ थिंग्स, बट इनका रेलेवेंस, इनका सिग्निफिकेंस तब आपको समझ में आएगा. आई एम नॉट सेइंग आपका मतलब आप ही, आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट इन जनरल एस्पिरेंट्स. तब ज्यादातर समझ में आता है जब 3-4 प्रीलिम्स फेल हो जाते हैं. फिर लगता है कि वेयर इज माई लूप होल, और तब उस लूप होल पे काम वही करते हो जो आपको शायद आपके शुरुआती दौर में किसी ने कोई समझा के गया था. तो इट इज अप टू यू कि आप कब से जग रहे हो, ठीक है. और ये सब मैं चीजें इसलिए बता रहा हूं ताकि आप आज से ही इस मैटर पे काम करना शुरू करो. और इसकी फ्रीक्वेंसी अब क्लास बाय क्लास बढ़ती जाएगी, क्योंकि अब थ्योरेटिकल पोर्शन इस सेशन का खत्म हो चुका है. इन्वायरमेंट इकोलॉजी का पोर्शन फर्स्ट सेगमेंट. अब पूरे बचे हुए क्लासेस में हम बहुत सारी डायनामिक इंफॉर्मेशंस पढ़ने वाले हैं. एजेंसीज का नाम, स्कीम्स का नाम. तो कुछ मेरी जिम्मेदारी होगी, मैं बताऊंगा, और उसके साथ कुछ एक्स्ट्रा जानने की, अब मैं कह सकता हूं कि आपके अंदर वो डेस्परेशन, वो आपकी हैबिट होनी चाहिए, राइट. So if you want, you can leave the space of 4 to 5 lines, right? And you can read about Conservation International from Wikipedia and try to write down few related factual informations which may be asked in your prelims, right? So with the help of these three different points, now we are in condition to make ourselves very, very satisfied that yes, biodiversity of earth is unevenly distributed. But whatever content you write was not the answer of why. Whatever content you written, that content is the answer of justification. Ki if you have to justify someone ki biodiversity of earth is unevenly distributed, so how you will prove yourself? So by referring these informations. But these informations are not the question of why. Why means what? Why earth biodiversity is unevenly distributed? Now we are going to initiate this discussion, right? So this discussion is very, very linked with our discussion related to ecosystem, which we have been covered in our first segment. Look, if we talk about biodiversity, biodiversity means what? Variety in life forms, right? Life form means I am talking about biotic components. Life form का मतलब यही होता है ना, different types of biotic component. And for ensuring the very decent thrive or evolution of so many different types of biotic component at a given location, I already said it that condition of abiotic components must be favorable for supporting the survival of as much as possible different types of organisms or species. We cannot imagine the survival of different types of organisms at a location where condition of abiotic components are very, very intense. We cannot imagine at all. Now, condition of abiotic component is intense or just opposite statement. Favorable condition of abiotic components, what it means? Favorable condition means what? Soil should be fertile, temperature should be moderate, rainfall should be sufficient enough. This is the meaning of that term, favorable condition. An intense condition means what? Very high temperature or very low temperature, below freezing point, excessive rainfall or drought-like condition, infertile soil, which is also known as barren land. These can be considered as the scenario of what? Unfavorable or intense condition of abiotic components. So the entire story revolves around the condition of abiotic components. Ki what is the condition of abiotic component of a given location? I am giving this task to all of you. Whatever information which we have written in the process of justification of that uneven distribution of biodiversity, whether it was the content of mega diverse countries or it was the content of hot spot or hope spot or whatever, or it is the content of tropical region, go and try to check at your home or in the process of your self-study. You will find that condition of abiotic factors are actually is very, very favorable to support diversity in life forms in all these locations which we have considered in this particular discussion, whether they are mega diverse country or any other content. Let us take up the case of India. Why India is a mega diverse country? Why India support diversity in life form? If you try to visit various physiographic locations of India, you will easily notice the character of diversity in abiotic components. And due to this diversity in abiotic components, and along with the fact that these components are favorable to support some particular type of organism, you will found कि this is the reason that why India support this high level of biodiversity. So whenever we have to talk about what are factors which influence the level of biodiversity of any given location, we can talk about all these abiotic components, that they should be in their supportive form, right? So we should explain, write the explanatory note here only. By changing paragraph, please write down. High level of biodiversity of in high level of biodiversity in all above mentioned regions, in bracket tropical region or in bracket tropical region or mega diverse country or hot spots, bracket close, is because of the fact that these locations or regions have following privileges in terms of the condition of abiotic components, in terms of the condition of abiotic components dash first point. We can easily notice diversity in condition of abiotic factors within mega diverse countries. For example, India. Second point. Various atmospheric factors like temperature, rainfall, humidity, etc. can be found in their moderate form within tropical regions or mega diverse countries, within tropical regions or mega diverse countries, or within tropical regions or mega diverse countries, or biodiversity hotspots, or biodiversity hotspots. Third point, similarly, the condition of physiography, the condition of physiography of these different regions, the condition of physiography of these different regions is very supportive for survival of diverse range of biotic components, So it is all about the distribution of biodiversity of Earth, and based on this content you can practice one mains oriented question. Write down that question. Biodiversity of Earth is unevenly distributed and this much information or content should be in quote unquote. Unevenly distributed, full stop. Critically examine this statement. By presenting supportive examples. Okay. So we actually accomplished our discussion about two basic aspects of this chapter. What is biodiversity? How we can discuss this concept of biodiversity in how many different manners, and what is the current scenario of Earth biodiversity and how it is distributed across entire Earth. Now, related to this dimension only, we can initiate the very next dimension of our discussion, and that is about measurement of biodiversity, right? Measurement of biodiversity, it should be your heading. Measurement of biodiversity. Look.
Sir,
Yes.
I'm discussing the biodiversity. Why normally animals, sir?
No, I'm talking about a species of biotic components.
The company you have told, but why we are measuring any hotspot?
Why we are?
Uh, defining biodiversity hotspot.
Yes.
So that parameters is mainly based.
Okay, so your question should be like this. This question is for hotspot dimension. Look, if we talk about animal and birds, it is not possible to imagine the survival of any animal and bird without proper or sufficient vegetation, right? So a very decent level of vegetation of any given location is itself a proof that scenario of animal diversity would be at healthy level. That's why as the parameter they are considering the condition of diversity in vegetation as far as hotspot concept is concerned, right? Look, I'm giving one sample to all of you and you should try to take a call. Let's say I am considering two different locations. Let's say these are two different ecosystems, and both ecosystem consists various biotic components, and I'm presenting those biotic components in form of symbols. Right? Means triangle is one species and three members of this species. Similarly for rest other symbols. Are you getting it?
Yes, sir.
Similarly in ecosystem 2, I am considering another case. Is it okay? So what you are noticing in both these ecosystems, as far as ecosystem, this is ecosystem 1. As far as ecosystem 1 is concerned, you are noticing that this ecosystem consists three different types of species, and as far as the number of organisms, or I should be very, very technical here, as far as population of these species in first ecosystem is concerned, so population of this species is what? 3, again 2, and around 6. अरे बाबा, जो भी है 1 2 3 4, तुम लोग का आई विजन टेस्ट भी हो जा रहा है फिर, हाँ? जिसको 5 दिख रहा है, go and try to assess your eyesight. 1 2 3 4 5 6, मुझे तो 6 दिख रहा है, हाँ? 6 है ना? चलो आज 4 घंटे यही डिस्कशन करते हैं कि 6 है या 5 है. 6 is it? It is? Okay. Now, focus over second ecosystem. As far as second ecosystem is concerned, again there are 3 species. But if you talk about the population, 1 2, और फिर अब ये काउंट अगर करो तो more than 10 है ना? 16. चलो काउंट कर लिए. What I want to convey here, look, in terms of number of species, there is no any difference in ecosystem 1 and ecosystem 2. Both ecosystems are having 3 species. But when you try to have a look over population of species in both these ecosystems, so under ecosystem 1, you are noticing that population of these 3 species is very, very comparable of each other. Number is not, there is no any huge difference in population of species. They are very close number, na? 3, 2, 6. But what is the case in second ecosystem? Although this second ecosystem consists 3 different species, but you are noticing कि one species, one particular species is actually dominating over rest other species in terms of its number, population. And if this should be reality in any ecosystem, which dimension I am considering? Domination of one species over rest other species in terms of number. If this would be reality, we will found that the very diversity of this ecosystem will start reducing after some time. Let's say कि और क्यों reduce करेगा देखो. Let's say कि this 0 is a carnivore species and both these symbols are, let's say, 2 different herbivore species. So all these carnivores will try to feed these herbivores for their own survival. So what happens after some passage of time? The very number of herbivore will be absent. Because why it will be absent? Because their number is very less compared to the number of carnivore. And if there will not be any presence of herbivore in ecosystem after some time, would you expect the very decent survival of carnivore? Because these herbivore are the requirement of carnivore. So what will happen ultimately? After some time, we will notice reduction in species structure of that ecosystem. Would you expect such type of things should be there in ecosystem? No, not at all. So here I presented 2 different cases. One case which inform us about variety in species. This is called species richness. Species richness means there must be presence of as much as possible many number of species. This is called species richness. And when we will try to compare the population of present species with among each other, so related to that dimension, as far as first ecosystem is concerned, as you are noticing कि population of all these species are comparable of each other. Comparable means very close of each other. This condition is treated as the condition of species evenness. So for supporting high level of biodiversity in any ecosystem or location, these 2 criteria must be satisfied simultaneously. There should be species richness as well as species evenness. What is your conclusion for second ecosystem? Here we can say that there is species richness, but which angle is missing? Species evenness is not not within second ecosystem, right? So if our interest is to ensure a very healthy level of biodiversity at any given location, we need to work upon both these requirements as requirements of species richness and species evenness, right? समझ में ये दोनों कॉन्सेप्ट क्या है? So पहले इसे लिखते हैं, प्लीज राइट इट डाउन. In order to support high level of biodiversity, within location or ecosystem, comma, following following two criterias following two criterias must be satisfied dash. First one, species richness. First criteria is the criteria of species richness. Now what it means, you can explain this particular term. There must be presence of as much as possible maximum number of species within that given location, right? And second one is species evenness. What is the species evenness? Write down. Population of all present species must be comparable, full stop. In other words, there should not be huge difference in population of different species. Huge difference in population of different species. By changing paragraph, write down. As far as measurement of biodiversity is concerned, comma, there are following three different approaches measurement, of measurement dash. First approach, it is known as alpha diversity. Second one is beta diversity. And third one is gamma diversity. Alpha, beta and gamma diversity. Now what is alpha diversity? You should write down. Alpha diversity, write down. Diversity in species structure. Diversity in species structure of an ecosystem. Diversity in species structure of an ecosystem. Diversity in species structure of an ecosystem. Full stop. It means total number of species It means total number of species present within ecosystem. Total number of species present within ecosystem. Second, beta diversity. It is the measurement of change in species structure. It is the measurement of change in species structure of change in species structure of change in species structure between, not of, species structure between two or more than two different ecosystems, two or more than two different ecosystems. Full stop. In the measurement of beta diversity, we should consider only those species which are uniquely present within their own ecosystem. And third one is gamma diversity. It means overall biodiversity of a large biogeographical area in which two or more than two ecosystems are present. Right? Now, we should try to further develop our understanding about these three different measures by taking this reference of this example. Please draw all these symbols and the structure which I drew over the screen. Please draw it first. Why your classes are not conducted in morning time? Is there any reason behind it to initiate your classes from 2 p.m.? Oh. Hmm?
Morning we can study.
Okay. So hostel forbid you to stay in afternoon. Are you comfortable to attend classes in morning only on 25th for 2 to 3 hours? Huh? You have exam? Means exam, college exam or in this institution only? You, okay, so you are going to appear it. My best wishes here. कितने लोग जा रहे हैं? How many are going to face that disaster? Wish you all are preparing yourself to prevent the very mishappening of that disaster by securing that cutoff. Only one. Remaining aspirants are in hospital. They are preparing for exam. Okay. चलो फिर 25th को तो रहने ही देते हैं. I should not take risk. How many among of you are going to appear on 25th? Only one. 10 persons of this classroom. Okay, 1, 2. अच्छा वो भी है. तो आप लोग अपना अपना हैंड क्यों नहीं रेस कर रहे? दूसरे के कहने पे फिर 1, 2, 3 तब तो रहने दो. मुझे पहले था कि केवल एक है तो एक को मना लेता मैं, लेकिन 3-4 हैं तो फिर मुश्किल है. ठीक है फिर we will keep classes off on 25th then. Okay. All these symbols represent species, different species, right? So with proper note you should write down that these symbols represent different species. Symbols represent different species, right? Now if we have to talk about alpha diversity, so what alpha diversity is? A species structure of an ecosystem. It means that in the name of alpha diversity we just need to count the number of species found in a given ecosystem. So alpha diversity for ecosystem 1 is 7. All symbols represent different species. So how many species? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? Similarly, alpha diversity for ecosystem 2 is of 6, na? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Again 7, right? This is alpha diversity. But when we talk about beta diversity, look, the very discussion of beta diversity is not specific for a particular ecosystem. As you written that in beta diversity we try to make comparison between two different ecosystems, or the number of ecosystems may be more than 2. And what is our manner of I can say discussion? What should be? We try to analyze the change in species structure, between two different ecosystems. Change in species structure का मतलब ये हुआ कि we will count कि how many species are uniquely present in ecosystem 1 and how many species are uniquely present in ecosystem 2, right? So if we exclude the dimensions of this species, this one, and these three species are common in ecosystem 1 and 2. Yes or not? So we should exclude them from our counting, because beta diversity is saying कि a species must be uniquely present in its ecosystem. So in the name of beta diversity, we should count कि we should say 4 species of ecosystem 1 and rest 4 species of ecosystem 2. They are uniquely present in their own ecosystem. So your answer for beta diversity would be what? 8. 4 plus 4 कितना हुआ? 8. Right? और 4 में क्यों कह रहा हूं? अब यहां पे भी अगर आप इकोसिस्टम 2 में देखो तो आप अगर इसे इन तीनों को एक्सक्लूड कर दो तो ये जो 4 स्पीशीज हैं ये केवल इकोसिस्टम 2 में ही है ना, 1 में तो है नहीं. एंड सिमिलरली these 4 species are unique for ecosystem 1. So beta diversity would be what? 8, right? अब मान लो कि आपको एक और इकोसिस्टम दिया जाता तो फिर आप देखते कि उसमें जो स्पीशीज दी गई हैं क्या वो बाकी के 2 में है या 2 में से किसी एक में भी है. कि अगर किसी एक में भी है यू विल एक्सक्लूड इट, क्योंकि बीटा डाइवर्सिटी किस चीज पे फोकस कर रही है? यूनिक प्रेजेंस पे. तो जितनी स्पीशीज अपने अपने इकोसिस्टम में यूनिकली पाई जाएंगी उनका नंबर आप ऐड करोगे और वो आपका आंसर होगा इन द नेम ऑफ बीटा डाइवर्सिटी, राइट? एंड व्हाट वुड बी योर रिस्पॉन्स फॉर गामा डाइवर्सिटी? व्हाट स्टेटमेंट यू रिटन? ओवरऑल biodiversity of all ecosystems which are founding in a given large biogeographical area. So in this example we have 2 ecosystems and you just need to count the number of species which are actually founding in ecosystem 1 and 2. So what is that number? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. You need to exclude these 3 क्योंकि इन तीनों को ऑलरेडी हम काउंट कर चुके हैं ना इकोसिस्टम 1 में. 7 8 9 10 and 11. So answer for gamma diversity is what? 11 species, right? समझ में आया? So alpha diversity is 7 for both ecosystem, beta diversity is 8 and gamma diversity is 11. Gamma diversity is 11. In the process of gamma diversity calculation, you should consider all species which are founding in either of ecosystem. But एक species की counting एक बार ही करोगे, ये भी ध्यान रखना. मतलब अगर वो species दोनों ecosystem में पाई जा रही है तो उसकी counting double time नहीं करोगे, वो एक ही time count करोगे, right? So alpha, beta and gamma diversity. These are 3 different approaches of biodiversity measurement. Okay. Now after this particular dimension of biodiversity measurement, I should share a very, I can say, factual information regarding the condition of biodiversity of India, because we just need to take a glimpse about it. बायोडाइवर्सिटी ऑफ इंडिया एक ऐसा टॉपिक है जिस पे अगर हम चाहे तो पूरे 10 दिन हम यही डिस्कशन कर सकते हैं. बट यहाँ पर हमारा पर्पस सिर्फ ये है कि हम एक डिसेंट पैराग्राफ अपना तैयार करें, शॉर्ट नोट, जो इंडिया की बायोडाइवर्सिटी का एक ओवरऑल पिक्चर प्रेजेंट करे और जब आपको जरूरत पड़े तो आप इस कंटेंट का यूज कर सको. सो प्लीज पुट हेडिंग, ये लिख लिए ना, अल्फा बीटा एंड गामा डाइवर्सिटी. नंबर जरूर लिख लेना और घर पे जाके एक बार इसको रिवाइज कर लेना. अल्फा इज 7, बीटा इज 8, गामा इज 11. प्लीज पुट हेडिंग. यस.
Number alpha beta gamma 7 8 and static number.
This is the number for this example, na? Yes.
Keeping the break.
Okay. So you complained about Mika. Huh? See, that person does not give break to us at suitable, at appropriate time. He was very obsessed in his approach. Sir, please give them break. मैं डर गया क्या हो गया यार. चलो भाई, I have to follow your kind orders, harsh orders, whatever it is. So giving you all break for 15 minutes. Thank you so much. Thanks for credit. Biodiversity of India. Despite 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 having only 2.6%, having only 2.6% share in total land surface area of Earth, comma, India hosts India hosts 8% proportion of Earth biodiversity. First one, Earth biodiversity. The pride of India, the pride of India lies in its nearly 6,500. It's nearly 6,500 native plant species, comma, around 60,000 insect species, 60,000 insect species, comma, 2,500 species of fishes, two thousand five hundred species of fishes, and around 250 amphibian species, 250 amphibian species. Also, high level of biodiversity, high level of biodiversity of India, high level of biodiversity of India is also evident, is also evident of the fact that India is a mega diverse country. and also has 4 biodiversity hotspots. Also has 4 biodiversity hotspots. Full stop. Following factors support following factors support healthy level of biodiversity of India. Healthy level of biodiversity of India. First, being a country of tropical region, comma, India support the favorable condition for survival of variety of species. Second point, the entire country is divided into 15 agroclimatic zones, 15 agroclimatic zones, comma, which is supportive for evolution of various kinds of flora and fauna species. Evolution of various kinds of flora and fauna species. Various kinds of flora and fauna species. Next point. Presence of 7 different types of soil in India also support favorable physiographic condition for evolution and survival of many types of species, many types of flora and fauna species, By changing paragraph right now, it is due to three major factors written now: physiographic, climatic, and variety in regions, right?
Yes.
By changing paragraph, it is due to the privilege of healthy level of biodiversity, comma, India has been India has been one of the important key location, KEY, key location of various international level initiatives, key location of various international level initiatives taken for biodiversity conservation, taken for biodiversity conservation, taken for biodiversity conservation. So it is a short paragraph which talks about the scenario of biodiversity of India, and you can say that this content is actually the very component or subset of that larger content which we actually provided for the biodiversity of entire earth, right? Now after completing this dimension of India's biodiversity, we are at the very end of that theoretical discussion related to biodiversity. This theoretical discussion journey can be, I can say, terminated by considering the very last dimension of our discussion, and that dimension is again, I can say, a very close dimension of our previous topic, that is the subject of ecosystem services. On the same line, we can also talk about biodiversity services, right? So you just need to copy paste that entire content of ecosystem services as the services of biodiversity also. And if you can recall, we talked about 4 types of services provided by ecosystem to entire humanity: provisioning, regulating, supporting, and culture or spiritual services. So, why I am linking these two topics with each other? Look, when we talk about ecosystems service, so ecosystem also consists biotic components, and various biotic components which are the part of ecosystem actually provide their contribution in supporting various type of requirements of human civilization as well as other species. Let's say if you talk about provisioning services of ecosystem. So what is provisioning service? Ecosystem provides multiple types of natural resources. So let's say कि one natural resource is fruit, timber products. These fruits or timber products are what? They are the product of living component, plant, and living component is all about biodiversity. So which type of service biodiversity provides for humanity? We can consider that content by considering this provisioning service of, now I am using it on biodiversity, so instead of ecosystem, I can use the notion of biodiversity. Provisioning service of biodiversity. Similarly, regulating service of biodiversity, supporting and cultural services, right? So I am not going to repeat that content again. I am giving the very brief summary of this content which we have been covered in our previous segment. But whenever you have to talk about this content in your examination, you should write in full length, right? But as of now, you should write on that crux only. You can put heading biodiversity services, and write down It means services provided by, it means services provided by biodiversity. It means services provided by biodiversity to human civilization, to human civilization, and all these services all these services can be divided into four broader categories, four broader categories, namely, provisioning services, provisioning services, regulating services, regulating services, regulating services, supporting services, and cultural services, and cultural services. So with this, we have finished the first, and I can say the very theoretical portion of this biodiversity dimension. As I said, it is a very precise content, and we need to talk about multiple dimensions. I can say multiple defined dimensions under theoretical discussion of biodiversity. We should again recap all those content which we have discussed so far in last 2.5 hours. We started our discussion with the concept of biodiversity, what it is. Then we talked about different approaches in form of which we can make discussion about biodiversity. These approaches are in form of genetic, species and community biodiversity. Then we talked about the actual scenario of biodiversity of Earth, what is the estimate and what is the known biodiversity of Earth, how it is distributed across Earth, answer is uneven distribution. We also talked why this uneven distribution. So we in this dimension we considered various responsible factors. Then we talked about measurement of biodiversity. In measurement, we followed the discussion of alpha, beta, and gamma diversity. Second last theoretical aspect was biodiversity of India, and with this, after biodiversity of India, the last content was biodiversity services. Now, with the help of this theoretical understanding, now we are all set to initiate the discussion of actual exam-oriented content of this segment, and that is the segment of loss of biodiversity and initiatives which has been taken so far for biodiversity conservation. As far as loss of biodiversity is concerned, in a very simple manner, you can say that it means reduction in species structure of any given ecosystem. That process or phenomenon can be treated as the case of biodiversity loss. And actually, this is the very concerning problem for entire, you can say, human civilization. In last 300 years, since last 300 years, humanity started dominating over rest other biotic and abiotic components of ecosystem. And result of this domination is what? You can say reduction in actual or original biodiversity of Earth. So, how much biodiversity has been lost and what is the current intensity of problem? I'm going to demystify this entire content by considering few data which will help you. So, you can put heading Loss of biodiversity. Loss of biodiversity. And please write down. It is a significant environmental issue which means which means declination in variety of life forms, declination in variety of life forms. It can also be discussed as it can also be discussed as disappearance or declination of biological diversity. Biological diversity within an species, comma, ecosystem, comma, geographical area, or entire Earth planet, full stop. According to an estimate of IUCN, according to an estimate of IUCN, International Union for Conservation of Nature, Union for Conservation of Nature, according to an estimate of IUCN, 784 species, 784 species have gone extinct, in past 500 years, in past 500 years. Full stop. United Nation clearly said that the current rate of biodiversity loss is more rapid or much faster than earlier events of biodiversity reduction. First, although we can outline various factors responsible for biodiversity loss, responsible for biodiversity loss, but responsible for biodiversity loss, but following factors are most dominant. Following factors are most dominant. First, habitat destruction of species. Habitat destruction of species. Second, introduction of invasive species. Introduction of invasive species. Introduction of invasive species. Third one, the phenomenon of co-extinction. Phenomenon of co-extinction. The co-extinction is the, you should define this term, what co-extinction is. It means extinction of two or more than two species together, two or more than two dependent species, two or more than two dependent species together. And next one is climate change and global warming. Climate change and global warming. Look, whenever you are talking about biodiversity loss, you should not forget to mention these four most dominant factors. I am not saying that these are the only factors responsible for biodiversity loss. I am saying that these are the four most dominant and immediate factors. Multiple other factors induces these problems. We can say, let's say, habitat destruction. So habitat destruction problem can be induces due to the case of industrialization, right? Industrialization can also be considered as one specific factor responsible for loss. But how that industrialization is affecting that scenario of biodiversity? Industrialization is causing the problem of habitat destruction of species. Habitat destruction, along with habitat destruction, this same industrialization may also lead to the problem of introduction of invasive species. Let's say कि यहाँ पे एक जंगल था, उसको हटाया गया इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन के लिए, तो इस जंगल के जितने भी स्पीशीज हैं फिर वो अपने हैबिटेट के लिए किसी दूसरे इकोसिस्टम में क्या करेंगे, इंट्रोड्यूस करेंगे, और दूसरे इकोसिस्टम में इंट्रोड्यूस करेंगे जहां के लिए वो एडेप्टेबल नहीं है। तो अल्टीमेटली उन सभी इकोसिस्टम के स्पीशीज का सर्वाइवल जो है वो अनबैलेंस्ड प्रोपोर्शन में आएगा, एंड इट विल लीड टू द प्रॉब्लम ऑफ बायोडाइवर्सिटी लॉस। को-एक्सटिंक्शन को भी इसका एक इमीडिएट फैक्टर, वो रिस्पॉन्स, या आप कह सकते हो कि प्रोडक्ट कह सकते हो कि इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन की वजह से भी कहीं ना कहीं को-एक्सटिंक्शन हो रहा है। एंड व्हाई क्लाइमेट चेंज एंड ग्लोबल वार्मिंग, अगेन इट इज द रिजल्ट ऑफ इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन। तो इसी तरीके से हम और भी कई फैक्टर्स ह्यूमन एक्टिविटीज को कंसीडर कर सकते हैं, बट ये सभी के सभी फैक्टर्स इन्हीं चार प्रॉब्लम्स को या इन चारों में से किसी एक ना एक को क्या कर रहे हैं, इंड्यूस कर रहे हैं। और इन चारों का इमीडिएट इंपैक्ट पड़ रहा है किस फॉर्म में? इन फॉर्म ऑफ बायोडाइवर्सिटी लॉस। तो होता क्या है कि हम नॉर्मली कई लोग इन चारों का कई लोग मतलब ये समझ लेते हैं कि these are the only four factors responsible for loss, but I'm not saying so. These are the four most dominant and immediate factors, and these factors may be induces due to any other factors such as industrialization. एक मैंने ऐसा एग्जांपल दिया, right? And whenever we want to go for biodiversity conservation, our major focus should be over these four problems. कि anyhow we should try to minimize the cases of habitat destruction and rest failures, right? So कैसे हम इन प्रॉब्लम्स को टैकल कर सकते हैं ताकि बायोडाइवर्सिटी का ओरिजिनल सिनेरियो मेंटेन रहे, इसको लेकर दो तरीके की स्ट्रेटजीज पढ़ी जाती है, टू डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ स्ट्रेटजीज which we actually follow for biodiversity conservation. One set of strategy is known as ex situ measures of biodiversity conservation, and another set of measure is known as in situ measures. These are two different strategies of biodiversity conservation. You can see when we try to work for ex situ strategy, we actually try to protect a particular species by placing that species in an artificial, or you can say artificially prepared environment. And this artificially prepared environment should be far away of natural habitat of that given species. Let's say कि there is one species tiger and natural habitat of tiger is tropical grassland. अब अगर हमें एक्स सीटू मेजर के जरिए टाइगर का प्रोटेक्शन करना है तो हम क्या करेंगे? उसके उस नेचुरल हैबिटेट से दूर कहीं एक आर्टिफिशियल एनवायरनमेंट तैयार करेंगे। ऑब्वियस सी बात है कि वो आर्टिफिशियल एनवायरनमेंट भी ऐसा होना चाहिए जो बिल्कुल इस नेचुरल एनवायरनमेंट की तरफ, ताकि उसकी रिक्वायरमेंट फुलफिल होती रहे। और फिर हम उस टाइगर को आर्टिफिशियली प्रिपेयर्ड एनवायरनमेंट में ले जाकर वहां पे रख के उसका हम एक तरीके से प्रोटेक्शन करेंगे। जैसे आजकल सुन रहे होगे प्रोजेक्ट चीता, क्या किया जा रहा है उससे? उनको एक उनके नेचुरल हैबिटेट से लाया गया अफ्रीका से और एक पर्टिकुलर हैबिटेट या एक लोकेशन तैयार किया गया। और लोकेशन तैयार करने का मतलब ये नहीं है कि पूरा लोकेशन नए सिरे से तैयार करना। ऑलरेडी वो एक नेशनल पार्क था, पूर्ण नेशनल पार्क, वहां पे चीजों को डिमार्केट करके उसके लिए लोकेशन बनाए गए। तो आप इस तरीके के एफर्ट को क्या नाम दोगे? एक्स सिटू मेजर, राइट? सिमिलरली यू कैन टेक अप द केस ऑफ जूलॉजिकल पार्क। सो अब जूलॉजिकल पार्क में जो टाइगर है, जो एलिफेंट है, इट इज नॉट देयर नेचुरल हैबिटेट, नो। कंडीशंस ऑफ नेचुरल हैबिटेट हैज बीन प्रिपेयर्ड थ्रू ह्यूमन एफर्ट। तो जू को भी आप किस तरीके का मेजर मानोगे? एक्स सिटू। You may be familiar about botanical garden. Again, botanical garden is an example of ex situ measure. But when we talk about ecology, this ex situ measure is usually required for protection of those species which are on the verge of extinction. And a very close monitoring is required for their protection. For such type of species, we usually follow which measure? Ex situ measure. कि उनको वाइल्ड में अब मत लें। वाइल्ड का मतलब क्या होता है? कि वो अपने नेचुरल हैबिटेट में रह रहे हैं और कोई ना कोई वहां की ऐसी प्रॉब्लम है जिसकी वजह से उनका जो नंबर है वो कम होता है। तो अगर हम उनके उसी वाइल्ड हैबिटेट में छोड़कर अगर उनका प्रोटेक्शन करेंगे तो शायद उनको हम सही से प्रोटेक्ट ना करें, इसलिए क्या किया जाता है कि उनको कैप्टिविटी में रखा जाता है। एंड कैप्टिविटी इज नथिंग, कैप्टिविटी मींस व्हाट? आर्टिफिशियली क्रिएटेड एनवायरनमेंट, राइट?
Yes.
When we talk about in situ measure, so in situ measure, we try to protect species by maintaining them, or by maintaining their presence within their natural, you can say, ecosystem or habitat. Difference समझ में है? Under in situ strategy, we are not displacing them. जहां भी वो नेचुरली पाए जा रहे हैं वहां ही रहे। उस लोकेशन को कई रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस के जरिए गवर्नमेंट क्या कर देगी? नोटिफाई कर देगी। और रूल्स रेगुलेशन की वजह से अब उस लोकेशन में नॉर्मल एक्टिविटीज को परफॉर्म करना पॉसिबल नहीं हो पाएगा, और इस तरीके से स्पीशीज का प्रोटेक्शन किया जाता है। एंड द वेरी क्लासिक एग्जांपल ऑफ इन सिटू कंजर्वेशन इज व्हाट? नेशनल पार्क, वाइल्ड लाइफ सेंचुरी। ये आर्टिफिशियली क्रिएटेड लोकेशन तो है नहीं। नेशनल पार्क का मतलब क्या? कि किसी एक लोकेशन पर कोई एक पर्टिकुलर स्पीशीज नेचुरली पाई जा रही है और उस स्पीशीज का नंबर घटता जा रहा है, पॉपुलेशन कम होती जा रही है ड्यू टू एनी रीजन। तो उस स्पीशीज का प्रोटेक्शन करने के लिए फिर गवर्नमेंट क्या करेगी? उस लोकेशन को ही डिक्लेयर कर देगी, या तो नेशनल पार्क के तौर पे, या वाइल्ड लाइफ सेंचुरी, या आप नाम सुने होंगे बायोस्फीयर रिजर्व। So these efforts are known as the effort of in situ measures. So all in all, various efforts or various strategies related to biodiversity conservation are broadly divided into these two categories: in situ and ex situ measures. Please write down. For you can put heading conservation of biodiversity. And write down all conservation related efforts, all conservation related efforts are divided into TWO, two different categories, divided into two different categories. First, in situ. First one is in situ conservation. In situ conservation strategy. And right, under this strategy, comma, our approach is to protect species, to protect various species by maintaining their presence within their natural habitat examples of this strategy are national park, wildlife sanctuary, national park, wildlife sanctuary, biosphere reserve. Can anyone inform me about difference in all these three types of locations? How many have visited Nandankana National Park? और जो भुवनेश्वर में रह के नहीं गया समझो कि उसने कितना बड़ा जुर्म किया था. ओके. सिमलीपाल सिमलीपाल नहीं गए. अच्छा तुम गए. You are from Simlipal. At Simlipal, look, as an outsider, I am familiar with that name because I read about it. I used to teach this subject. Simlipal is the name of district also, right?
No, district name is Mayapalli.
Okay, Mayurbhanj. What is in Mayurbhanj district? Mayurbhanj is famous for minerals also, no?
Yes.
Okay. What is difference between national park, sanctuary, and biosphere reserve? You read about these terms from your schooling days. पढ़ते हैं ना? पढ़ते आ रहा है. क्या difference होता है? एक समय में पूछा तो एक ने कहा कि national park starts with N, and wildlife starts with W. I said, great. You need to be rewarded. Look, a very beautiful difference between in all these three dimensions. और जब भी जाना तो एक चीज notice करना. When we talk about wildlife sanctuary, in wildlife sanctuary, responsible agencies actually try to go for protection of a fauna species. Fauna means animal or bird. और देखना हर एक वाइल्ड लाइफ सेंचुरी या तो किसी एनिमल स्पीशीज की वजह से वो फेमस होती है या किसी बर्ड स्पीशीज की वजह से. राइट? When you talk about national parks are actually ambitious for protection of flora as well as fauna. मतलब प्लांट स्पीशीज भी अगर पाई जा रही हो वहां पे उसका भी प्रोटेक्शन along with fauna species. Fauna means what? Animal and birds. And when we talk about biosphere reserve, they are actually ambitious for the protection of flora, fauna, as well as human tribe. If that human tribe is residing in nearby region of that reserve. So you can say कि coverage, range of coverage of biosphere reserve is most broadest, then followed by national park and wildlife sanctuary. Right? You can write this point of difference. Biosphere reserve is for protection of flora, fauna, species as well as human tribe. For protection of flora, fauna, species as well as human tribe. And I should again share few factual informations which are possible from my side, but again you must read about some extra contents. In India, we have 18 biosphere reserves. How many? 18 biosphere reserves. लिखते जाओ. 18 biosphere reserves. And out of these 18 biosphere reserves, 12 are 12 12 reserves are also being protected. 12 reserves are also being protected under MAB program, Man and Biosphere, MAB, M-A-B, MAB program, Man and Biosphere program of UNESCO, program of UNESCO. Man and Biosphere program of UNESCO. That is the body of United Nations, right? Similarly, second one is national park. It is for protection of flora and fauna species. It is for protection of flora and fauna species. From next line. The entire structure of national park is divided into core zone, buffer zone, and transition zone. Core, buffer, and transition. Within core zone, all types of human activities are completely prohibited. All types of human activities are completely prohibited except scientific research. Except scientific research. Second one is buffer zone. From that, within buffer zone, some selective human activities are allowed in regulated manner. Some selective human activities are allowed in a regulated manner, such as tourism, settlement of local pride, educational activity, and from next line, transition zone form the periphery of national park and within it activities like grazing, comma, hotels are also allowed, are also allowed, but are also allowed, but they should be performed in sustainable manner. They should be performed in sustainable manner. And third one is wildlife sanctuary. It was about national park, and please write few information about wildlife sanctuary. It is for protection of, it is for protection of, it is for protection of fauna species. Fauna species. Right? It is for protection of fauna species. So it was the first strategy in situ. Now, here only I should share one another information. Look, as India is also one important country which support a very decent level of biodiversity, and in India there is presence of various popular flora and fauna species. But as an aspirant of UPSC, it is not possible to read about every species of flora and fauna structure which have their presence in India, as you retain that data. But we need to be informed about some popular species of flora and fauna which have their presence in India. And I will provide one, I can say, study material of few pages, and that study material will provide you information about some very popular fauna species which have their presence in India, and you may got question from that particular content in your prelims, such as if we talk about India, one lion-tailed macaw, apart from it, stag deer, or one-horn rhino, elephant. These are various well-known species, fauna species of India. So that material will provide you information about it. इसके साथ एक और सजेशन जो आपको मैं देना चाहूंगा, देखो स्पीशीज के बारे में नॉर्मली क्वेश्चन यूपीएससी कैसे पूछती है प्रीलिम्स। ऐसा नहीं कि किसी भी रैंडम तरीके से स्पीशीज को कंसीडर कर लिया गया और क्वेश्चन पूछ लिया गया, नहीं। यूजुअल कल्चर यूपीएससी का ये है कि जो स्पीशीज करंट अफेयर में किसी न किसी वजह से न्यूज का हिस्सा बनी रहती है, उस स्पीशीज के बारे में कुछ बेसिक इंफॉर्मेशन दे यूज टू आस्क इन प्रीलिम्स। फॉर एग्जांपल कि if I consider the type scenario of last one year, so species of let's say cheetah was in news, तो इस तरीके से जब आप करंट अफेयर पढ़ते रहोगे तो आपको पूरे एक साल के अपने टेन्योर में 5-6-7 ऐसी स्पीशीज के बारे में पढ़ना होगा कहीं ना कहीं किसी न किसी महीने के पब्लिकेशन में, जिनके बारे में एक पॉसिबिलिटी होगी कि शायद यूपीएससी कुछ पूछ ले क्वेश्चन। बट इट इज माय सजेशन कि व्हेनेवर यू आर रीडिंग अबाउट एनी स्पीशीज इन योर करंट अफेयर, no need to go for research about it. You just need to be informed. You just need to inform yourself only about 3 aspects related to that species. What is the condition of its habitat? In which type of habitat that species can survive? ये लिख लो कहीं, हमेशा ध्यान रखना, कभी भी किसी भी करंट अफेयर में स्पीशीज के बारे में पढ़ना, केवल ये 3 इंफॉर्मेशन आप कलेक्ट करके रखो. इन विच हैबिटेट दैट स्पीशीज कैन सर्वाइव. सेकंड, what is its feeding behavior, what it eats in its regular lifestyle. And third one is, what is the status of its threat. What is the status of threat. और थ्रेट स्टेटस के लिए हम शायद कल के ही लेक्चर में एक एजेंसी और उसके एफर्ट को पढ़ेंगे. दैट एजेंसी इज IUCN, and that agency used to publish one very popular book which informs us about the level of threat of different species. Name of that book is Red Data Book. So उस Red Data Book में लेवल ऑफ थ्रेट्स की कई कैटेगरीज बनाई गई है. एक्सटिंक्ट इन वाइल्ड, क्रिटिकली endangered, vulnerable, least concern. So you just need to inform yourself ki that given species belongs to which category of red data book, right? Only that. क्योंकि थ्रेट का क्या लेवल है उसके लिए हम एक लीगल पैरामीटर की बात करते हैं, और जो पैरामीटर पूरे ग्लोबल स्केल पे पॉपुलर है वो है रेड डेटा बुक और उसकी ये कैटेगरीज, राइट? तो केवल ये 3 चीज पढ़ना हमेशा, हैबिटेट, फीडिंग बिहेवियर एंड level of its threat according to red data book of IUC. It will be sufficient enough for you. Now, apart from in situ, we should write few informations about ex situ conservation measure. Ex situ. Under this conservation measure, comma, under this conservation measure, comma, our approach is to protect. Our approach is to protect a particular species by translocating it into an artificially made habitat outside of its natural habitat. Few examples are zoological park, comma, botanical park, etc. So these are 2 important, you can say, measures, and it was all about laws and 2 strategies for protecting the level of biodiversity. Now we can start our discussion about various initiatives which has been taken in India as well as international level for protection of biodiversity of Earth. We should put heading initiatives taken for biodiversity conservation. Look, what all we need to discuss as initiative. Actually, in this content, we are going to talk about some institutions, which are working on the subject of biodiversity conservation. And related to institutions, we have to talk about their programs and initiatives. And apart from it, we need to talk about some rules, or you can say legislations related to biodiversity conservation, right? And we will conduct discussion about these three different contents in two different manners: international, in context of international level, as well as national level. What it means: international level institutions, their global program, and some international level rules or norms related to biodiversity conservation. And related to that, we will also talk about national level institutions and their program, which are related with biodiversity conservation in India, right? So this is a very, I can say, complex topic and purely a dynamic topic, full of, I can say, current affair scope and full of, I can say, dynamism. देखो होता क्या है कि इस कंटेंट को डिस्कस करने के दो तरीके होते हैं। ज्यादातर लोग क्या करते हैं कि वो केवल एक पीस ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन के तरीके से अलग अलग इनिशिएटिव्स के बारे में डिस्कशन कर ले जाते हैं कि लुक, दिस इज इंस्टीट्यूशन, these are work and related initiatives, that's all. उससे प्रॉब्लम क्या होती है कि हम इंफॉर्मेशन तो पढ़ ले जाते, फैक्ट एंड फिगर्स तो याद कर ले जाते, लेकिन उन सभी इंफॉर्मेशन का आंसर में कैसे एप्लीकेशन के तौर पे यूज करना है, हमारी वो मैच्योरिटी डेवलप नहीं हो पाती। हम ये नहीं समझ पाते कि व्हाट इज द प्रैक्टिकल रेलेवेंस ऑफ दैट इंटरनेशनल एफर्ट or international agency, how the work of that agency is actually related with India, इस तरीके का हमारा माइंडसेट डेवलप नहीं हो पाता। नॉर्मली हम केवल क्या करते हैं कि सीरियल वाइज नंबर में उन इंस्टीट्यूशंस और उनके एफर्ट्स को पढ़ लेते हैं। यहां पे हम क्या करने वाले हैं कि देखो, you all know that current world is a globalized world. First thing, globalized world means what? All countries are integrated with each other. And second thing is that the very topic which we are discussing, biodiversity, this is not the topic of national concern. It is the topic of international concern. So for biodiversity conservation, there must be a healthy cooperation among different countries or regions of world. It is not possible that only few countries will ensure the protection of biodiversity of earth in a very decent manner. It is not possible at all. इसलिए रियलिटी कैसी है कि कई इंटरनेशनल लेवल की एजेंसीज ने पूरे वर्ल्ड की बायोडाइवर्सिटी को प्रोटेक्ट करने के लिए कोई प्रोग्राम शुरू किया, अनाउंस किया। वो प्रोग्राम माना जाएगा ग्लोबल लेवल पे। अब फिर हम क्या देखेंगे कि उस ग्लोबल प्रोग्राम का इंप्लीमेंटेशन इंडिया में कौन कर रहा है? इंडिया की गवर्नमेंट। और उसके लिए इंडिया की गवर्नमेंट ने नेशनल लेवल के कुछ प्रोग्राम्स अनाउंस किए हैं फॉर इंडिया। So that national program announced by government of India is not a different issue, is not a different action, Actually, it is the implementation of that national level, international level commitment. So you can correlate these two topics. See how that international level effort is related with national effort of India. How these two topics are interrelated. You can easily interrelate these two topics अगर आपने इनको integrated manner में पढ़ा होगा तो, right? So I will follow this approach only. I will take up one international agency, its effort and implementation of its effort in India in form of some national level schemes or national level programs, right? Whenever we talk about most important international agency and its work related to the subject of biodiversity conservation, our discussion can start with a very popular, you can say, international program or international agreement. Name of that agreement is CBD, Convention on Biodiversity. And this international level mechanism is the effort of a very well-known international body. What? United Nations. United Nations actually, you can say, released this convention or released this agreement known as CBD in the year of 1992. This agreement was signed at the platform of United Nations in the year of 1992. How this program was signed, I'm actually sharing one background information of it. Look, in your economics, you will read about the concept of sustainable development. Sustainable development means that development which is very, very friendly with environment. बहुत लेमैन तरीके से मैं बता रहा हूँ. And the subject matter of sustainable development and the related subject of environment protection, both these subjects have been one of the fascinated subject for this agency, and United Nations is actually working over all these subjects since last, I can say, 50 years. And the very legacy of all these works of United Nations over environment and sustainable development, that legacy actually starts from the decade of 1970s. It was the year of 1972. It was the year of 1972 when United Nations tried to mobilize the effort of entire world to work for protection of environment. And that effort of environment, which was taken in the year of 1972, is very popularly known as Stockholm Convention. Stockholm Convention. It was the effort of United Nations in that convention to invite all countries of the world. They should sit together and try to explore an international, you can say, strategy, international level strategy for protection of what? Environment. For protection of environment. Environment of Odisha. अच्छा मतलब यूनाइटेड नेशन पूरे वर्ल्ड को इकट्ठा कर रहा है कि उड़ीसा के एनवायरनमेंट पे केवल काम करे. अरे एनवायरनमेंट ऑफ एंटायर वर्ल्ड, जिसमें उड़ीसा भी है और बाकी के स्टेट भी है, बाकी की कंट्रीज भी है, राइट? बट इफ यू हैव सम आइडिया अबाउट वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री, this 1972 year was the peak year of Cold War. And due to that geopolitical tension, that international consensus could not be drawn on the subject of environment protection. क्योंकि पूरा का पूरा वर्ल्ड जो था वो यूएसए वर्सेस यूएसएसआर की लॉबीज में बटा था, इसलिए वो कंसेंसस डेवलप नहीं हो पाया. But since it was the effort of United Nations, so we should talk about it. After Stockholm Convention, second such move was taken by United Nations only in the year of 1992, 20 years after the Stockholm Convention. And United Nations tried to mobilize the current scenario of entire world, which was noticed during 1992. What this year was? It was the year of termination of Cold War. Bipolar world was converted into a single polar world under the leadership of US. And that particular geopolitical situation was actually trying to be mobilized or channelized by United Nations कि चलो अब तो वो डिवीजन की प्रॉब्लम खत्म हो गई among countries, अब तो हम यूनिपोलर वर्ल्ड के फेज में आ चुके हैं, तो अब क्यों नहीं हम फिर से इस ग्लोबल एनवायरनमेंट के प्रोटेक्शन पे काम करना शुरू करें. और उसके लिए यूनाइटेड नेशन ने 1992 में एक दूसरा कॉन्फ्रेंस ऑर्गेनाइज किया, एंड नेम ऑफ दैट कॉन्फ्रेंस इज Earth Summit. Since that conference was organized in Rio de Janeiro city of Brazil, that's why that conference is also known as Rio Summit. But these name Earth or Rio Summit, I am very clear in my thought. These names should be popular in your preparation or in the preparation of one-day examination prompt. Why I am saying so? These were not the actual name of that convention. आप में से कई लोगों को ये नाम तो पता होगा जो मैंने अभी लिखा, सुने होंगे जरूर कहीं ना कहीं किसी न किसी कॉन्टेक्स्ट. लेकिन मैं अब क्या कह रहा हूं कि either of these two names were not the actual name of that convention, which was organized by United Nations in 1992 on the subject of environment protection. The actual name of that convention was United Nations Convention on Sustainable Environment. It was the name. But since more than 190 countries participated, that's why this casual name became popular, Earth Summit. And since it was organized in Rio de Janeiro, that's why this second casual name became popular, Rio Summit. देखो ये सब मैं एग्जांपल क्यों देता हूं? इसलिए नहीं कि ये मुझे आता है, इसलिए कि इन एग्जांपल्स के जरिए आपकी प्रिपरेशन का लूप होल मैं आपको समझाऊं, कहां गलती होती है और यूपीएससी कैसे उस लूप होल को यूटिलाइज करती है. रियल टाइम एग्जांपल मैं आपको दे रहा हूं. Similar type of convention was again organized by United Nations in Rio de Janeiro city only, just 20 years after 1992, year was 2012, right? And since that convention was organized in Rio de Janeiro, 20 years after Earth Summit, that's why that convention of 2002 became popular in public discourse with the name of Rio Plus 20. This name became popular for that convention of which year? 2012. Entire crowd tried to read that convention under the title of Rio Plus 20. It was the Rio Plus 20 convention. It was organized there. These were the outcomes of Rio Plus 20 convention. I cannot forget that classic example of UPSC beauty. In the year of 2015 prelims, UPSC asked one question. Question was, what is the actual name of Rio plus 20 summit? देखो ये अपनी लाइफ में ध्यान रखना, अगर यूपीएससी में कुछ ढंग का करना है ना तो रॉकेट नहीं उड़ाना है। मैं मजाक नहीं कर रहा हूँ आप लोगों से, जिसको जितना जल्दी सीख जाओगे उतना तुम लोग के लिए फायदा रहेगा। जितना सिंप्लीफाई हो कि छोटी छोटी चीजों को लेकर जितना अवेयर बनोगे उतना आपको इस एग्जाम में फायदा मिलेगा। रियो प्लस 20 समिट में पीएचडी करने की जरूरत नहीं। अब सोचो कि कितना बेसिक सा क्वेश्चन पूछा, और मैं उस बात का एक तरीके से प्रूफ हूं बिकॉज आई अपीयर्ड इन 2015 प्रीलिम्स। जितने भी मेरे कलीग्स थे सबका क्वेश्चन का आंसर गलत था, सभी का। Since that convention was organized on the subject of sustainable development, that's why the name of that 2012 convention was United Nations Convention on Sustainable Development. And UPSC intentionally add one more option with the name of environment. Environment, मान रियो प्लस 20 का ही पढ़ा है, रियो समिट से जुड़ा हुआ है, तो अब वो तुक्का लगाने वाली चीज यहाँ एनवायरमेंट से जुड़ा होगा। सभी ने किया। These are the loopholes in your preparation. That's why it is my suggestion कि whenever you are reading about any international level summit, program or convention, please try to memorize or try to develop your own maturity about the actual name of that convention, formal name. Convention वही है, उसका formal name है United Nations Convention on Sustainable Environment 92 का, but casual name is what? Rio Summit or Earth, right? So I am talking about, since our task is to discuss CBD, and this CBD was the one component of this convention of 1992. Now I am going to correlate these two topics and try to again follow your own, I can say, very organic thought process. If United Nations is organizing one convention in the year of 1992 for protection of environment of entire, you can say, environment of Earth, you can say. So any problem related with environment of Earth would become one subject matter for United Nations in that convention. क्योंकि environment of Earth को अगर सही करना है, इसका मतलब कि environment से जुड़ी हुई हर problem पे काम करना होगा। नॉर्मल सी बात है या नहीं? If your task is to rectify the problem of this room only, so your focus will be limited only under the premises of this room. And if your task would be to rectify the problem of this entire building, so we will start noticing every problem related to either of these three different floors of building. कुछ ऐसी ही बात यहाँ पे हो रही है। So since environment protection was the broader approach of United Nations, that's why in that convention of 1992, various agreements were finalized, or you can say signed, and all those agreements were related with different problems related to environment. One major problem related to environment which was very widely discussed at that platform was the problem of climate change. So for tackling the problem of climate change, an agreement known as UNFCCC was signed at that platform only. We have to talk about it in the chapter of climate change. Another major problem which was noticed related to environment in that convention was the problem of land degradation. The problem of land degradation. It was second problem noticed related to environment in that summit. So for handling the problem of land degradation, second agreement was finalized, known as UNCCD, United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification. One problem which was notified related to environment was the problem of biodiversity loss. ये भी तो environment से जुड़ी हुई problem है ना? Yes. And for addressing the problem of biodiversity loss, the very agreement which was signed at the platform of Earth Summit was CBT, Convention on Biodiversity. Since we are in the chapter of biodiversity, so I will restrict myself within the boundary of CBD only. But in next segments or chapters, we will surely talk about rest other dimensions, right? So I am going to share few provisions of this CBD convention. You can put heading Convention on Biodiversity. Convention on Biodiversity. It should be a heading. It is a multilateral treaty. It is a multilateral treaty which was signed under the Rio or Earth Summit of United Nations. Rio or Earth Summit of United Nations of 1992. In bracket, you should write down that complete name. United Nations Convention on Sustainable Environment. United Nations Convention on Sustainable Environment. Full stop. CBD has following three major goals. CBD has following three major goals. First one, conservation of biodiversity. First one, conservation of biodiversity. Conservation of biodiversity. Second, equitable, equal sharing of benefits, arises out of the use of biological resources. Third one, safe handling of safe handling of living modified organisms, safe handling of living modified organisms, or genetically modified or genetically modified organisms, living modified or genetically modified organisms. By changing paragraph right now, in order to implement the provision of in order to implement the provision of CBD, comma, National Biodiversity Act, National Biodiversity Act was passed by Parliament of India in 2002, was passed by Parliament in India in 2002, passed by Parliament of India in 2002. Major features of this act are: major features of this act are: first, Constitution of National Biodiversity Authority, Constitution of National Biodiversity Authority, under Ministry of Environment and Forest, to implement the provisions of act, to implement the provisions of this act, full stop. This body was established this body was established in this body was established in this body was established in 2003. Functions of NBA are: NBA means what? National Biodiversity Authority. Functions of NBA are dash, and in number wise format write down: regulation of acts prohibited under the act, regulation of acts or actions prohibited under the act, second, to advise government on conservation of biodiversity, to advise government on conservation of biodiversity, and one more, to regulate the procedure of granting intellectual property right to regulate the procedure of granting intellectual property right to any foreign player, intellectual property right to any foreign player arising from the use of comma उसी में लिखते जाना arising from the use of continue in same line to foreign players or arising from the use of biological resource or associated knowledge of India, biological resource or associated knowledge of India. Look, the very term intellectual property right which you written, I am going to present the brief information about this term. We will not dictate it here because it is the content of economy subject. Intellectual property refers to any concept, any new concept which has been introduced by a person or organization with the help of their own intellect. That new concept can also be referred as new invention. New invention means what? That concept did not have any existence in previous days, before the date of that invention. That concept did not had its existence at all. But a person or an entity introduced that concept from their own effort. So that new concept should be treated as property of the intellect of that person who invented it. Right? Let's say कि new vaccine of any problem or any disease. So that new vaccine is what? A new concept. And that new concept would be the, you can say, outcome of the very long-term effort of intellectual effort of a person. Similarly, the concept of, let's say, मोबाइल, कभी ना कभी ये कॉन्सेप्ट भी तो इंट्रोड्यूस हुआ होगा, किसी ना किसी ने इसे इंट्रोड्यूस किया होगा. तो दिस मोबाइल should be treated as the property of the intellect of its inventor, and it is the very, you can say, human right that inventor of that concept should enjoy the manner of commercial use of that concept into market. How that concept will be produced, who have power to produce that concept, how that concept can be sold out in market, at which rate that concept have to be sold out. All these decisions must be in the hand of whom? That inventor. Never use the term producer. Producer existing concept का भी तो हो सकता है ना. But here I am only talking about new concept.
Yes.
That's why I am using the notion of inventor, right? Is it okay?
Yes.
So the very inventor claimed this right from government. And which right? I should enjoy the privilege of commercial use of this concept which I invented. And the very right of this particular privilege, known as intellectual property, endowed by government to that inventor, is known as intellectual property right, IPR. And United Nations explicitly considered this IPR as one type of human right. Human right. In your economics discussion, you will read about so many different types of such IPR rights. Few IPRs are popular in our day-to-day, I can say, discussion. I can say that you may be familiar about one term, patent. Patent is a IPR given for any new, given for any introduced new product. That product may be good, may be service. तो किसी नए प्रोडक्ट को आपने इंट्रोड्यूस किया है, इन्वेंट किया है, और मान लो कि वो एक ऐसा प्रोडक्ट है जिसकी मार्केट में बहुत बड़ी डिमांड हो सकती है। आपको पता है कि मार्केट में जैसे ही जाएगा कई लोग उसको खरीदने वाले होंगे। तो उस नए प्रोडक्ट को किस रेट पर सेल आउट किया जाए, आपके अलावा उसका प्रोडक्शन कोई और ना कर सके, उसका आईपीआर जब आप क्लेम करोगे तो उसी आईपीआर को हम क्या नाम देते हैं? पेटेंट कहते हैं। देखोगे जब नई मेडिसिन वगैरह कोई इन्वेंट करता है तो वो उसके लिए पेटेंट क्लेम करता है, राइट? सिमिलर टाइप ऑफ another IPR is known as copyright. Copyright IPR is actually claimed by a person for their any artistic or literary work. Let's say कि I wrote one book of economics. So उस बुक के कंटेंट को कोई और कॉपी करके मार्केट में ना सेल आउट करे, उसके लिए जो मैं आईपीआर क्लेम करूंगा, मैं यानी ऑथर, उसको क्या कहते हैं? कॉपीराइट कहते हैं। So these are different types of IPR. So this third function of NBA is what? To regulate the procedure of granting IPR to a foreign entity who used any biological resource of India for introducing his own concept. उसने इंडिया की किसी बायोलॉजिकल रिसोर्स का या उससे रिलेटेड नॉलेज का यूज करके कोई कॉन्सेप्ट इंट्रोड्यूस किया और वो उस कॉन्सेप्ट के लिए आईपीआर क्लेम कर रहा है। तो वेदर दैट फॉरेनर विल बी एंडाउडेड विद दैट आईपीआर और नॉट, इस प्रोसेस को कौन डिसाइड करेगा? एनबीए। अब बायोलॉजिकल रिसोर्स एंड रिलेटेड नॉलेज का मतलब क्या है? यू ऑल नो दैट इंडिया इज वेरी पॉपुलर फॉर हर्ब्स एंड हर्बल मेडिसिन। तो हो सकता है कि कोई फॉरेन प्लेयर इंडिया में आके 3 साल तक रिसर्च किया हो हिमालय में जाके, और उसने किसी एक ऐसे हर्ब का पता कर लिया हो जो लेट्स से कि कैंसर के लिए बहुत एक इफेक्टिव मेडिसिन है। तो वो फिर क्या करेगा? उस हर्ब बेस्ड मेडिसिन को वो केवल वही प्रोड्यूस कर सके फॉर सम ड्यूरेशन, उसके लिए वो पेटेंट क्लेम करेगा। तो अब उसको वो पेटेंट मिलना चाहिए या नहीं, डिसाइड कौन करेगा? एनबीए, right? This is the third function and it is the most important function of NBA, right? From next line, please write down. Act also provides for constitution of State Biodiversity Board State Biodiversity Board at state level full stop. SBA is operational in many states of country. So this is about National Biodiversity Act of India. Look, if we look at the second goal of CBD, is about equal sharing of equal sharing of benefits arises out of the use of natural resources. This is the second goal now. So when we consider any international level agreement, so I'm going to present information about the very manner of implementation of provisions of that agreement. You can say in entire world, how those provisions of agreement actually implemented. What is the manner of it? So what happened? This entire procedure of implementation is actually governed by two very important stages. One is the stage of signing of that agreement or international mechanism. Who will sign it? Signing by different member countries. But signing does not mean कि provisions will start implementing in every country. No. After signing देखो होता क्या है कि पहले agreement का discussion हुआ, जिस कंट्री को लगा कि I should be part of it उसने साइन कर दिया. फिर साइन करने के बाद से हर कंट्री नेशनल लेवल पर उस इंटरनेशनल एग्रीमेंट की कन्वीनियंस की स्टडी करता है कि whether we are comfortable in that international agreement or not, whether that international provision is in consonance of our national interest or not. Every country, every member country go for a thorough analysis of it. और फिर जब किसी कंट्री को ऐसा लगता है कि no, this international agreement is in consonance of our requirement and it is very, I can say, favorable for us to be part of this provision. ऐसा thought जिस कंट्री को भी लगेगा, हर कंट्री you can say separate basis पे उस इंटरनेशनल एग्रीमेंट को रेटिफाई करता है. It is known as ratification. Ratification is not a one-time process, which was the case for signing. सभी member countries बैठे थे, discussion कर रहे थे, सबने एक साथ sign कर दिया. Ratification is a very long-term process. हर country personal basis पे ratify करता है agreement को. और जब एक minimum number of ratification cross होता है, तब जाके वो agreement के provisions क्या होते हैं? Implement होते हैं. ऐसा नहीं कि 100 लोगों ने साइन किया, 2 ने रेटिफाई किया और वो प्रोविजन पूरे वर्ल्ड पे या वो प्रोविजन सारे कंट्रीज के ऊपर इंपोज कर दिया गया. नेवर पॉसिबल. उसके लिए क्या प्रोसीजर होता है? रेक्टिफिकेशन का. ये पढ़ना टर्म होता क्या है कि कई सारे इंटरनेशनल एग्रीमेंट्स में बस ये पढ़ लेते हो कि दिस कंट्री साइंड इट और क्वेश्चन पूछ रहा है कि किसने रेटिफाई किया, पढ़े और किसने साइन किया. यही सब छोटी छोटी चीजें मैं आपको याद दिला रहा हूं. तो रेक्टिफिकेशन की यहाँ पे बात हो रही है, राइट? सो जब एक मिनिमम नंबर ऑफ कंट्रीज उस प्रोविजन को रेटिफाई कर देते हैं, then only that provision starts implementing. This was the case for CBD also, because CBD is also an international level mechanism. So and how this ratification process actually, you can say, perform, तो उसमें होता क्या है कि let's say कि in the year of 1992 this CBD was formulated. So it is very obvious the provision of this agreement would have been framed by taking into account the condition of 1992 only. What was the situation, what was the demand of world during 1992? But you cannot take guarantee the situation will remain same in future course of time. You cannot take this guarantee. So there is requirement of regular supervision and regular monitoring of various provisions of any international agreement. Any. And that's why international agreements have the provision of regular meeting at the gap of 1 year or at the gap of 2 years. This regular meeting, which is very, very important procedure of any international mechanism, is actually known as COP, Conference of Parties. No any hard and fast rule key at the interval of how many years this COP will organize. This decision is actually finalized at the platform of that agency only. But हर एक एग्रीमेंट में आपको सीओपी का फ्रेमवर्क देखने को मिलेगा. सीओपी इज नथिंग बट द रेगुलर मीटिंग ऑफ whom? रेगुलर मीटिंग ऑफ मेंबर स्टेट्स ऑफ दैट इंटरनेशनल मैकेनिज्म. और जो भी उस इंटरनेशनल मैकेनिज्म में जो भी मॉडिफिकेशन करना है एज पर द रिक्वायरमेंट ऑफ सिचुएशन, all these decisions are taken in that COP meeting only, right? So CBD also has the provision of COP meeting. The very COP meeting, I am forgetting the name, the number of that meeting. Probably it was the 10th COP of no 7th COP it was of CBD. And that COP was actually convened in the year of 2010. And where it was organized? Nagoya province of Japan. Nagoya province of Japan. So in order to ensure the very, you can say, implementation of second goal of CBD, which talks about equal distribution of benefits. In this Nagoya summit, or in this Nagoya COP of CBD, which was organized in 2010, one protocol was finalized, and that protocol is very popular these days. Name of that protocol is Nagoya Protocol. Right? So if you will get this question, ki Nagoya Protocol is related with option A, biodiversity, option C, option B, climate change, option C, desertification, what would be your answer? Biodiversity. Nagoya Protocol is related with conservation of biodiversity, to restrict loss of biodiversity, to ensure equal distribution of benefits arises out of natural resources. What would be your answer? Third one. Because Nagoya Protocol का subject ही है. Subject क्या है? Second goal of CBD. So you should write down here. For facilitating the implementation of second goal of CBD. Now I am not repeating it again because we have written that second goal of CBD, Nagoya Protocol was signed. Nagoya Protocol was signed in 2010. Nagoya Protocol was signed in 2010. So it was about Nagoya Protocol, and many other topics are yet to be covered under the very ongoing subject of CBD only. We have to talk about the provision of ACHI targets, Cartagena Protocol, genetic engineering appraisal committee, institution visibility. This entire discussion will take around, I can say, around 45 minutes, but I am running out of time today, right? So we should start tomorrow's lecture with the topic of CBD on, right? Nagoya Protocol तक हो गया है. थोड़ा रिवाइज करके बैठना क्लास में ताकि क्लासों को फ्लो मिल सके. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.